Yeah, we changed it. It's no E. Jamie telling Anna that PJ threatened to bring out her wet noodle yesterday when she called me.
Would the applicant for Bodie Residential Development raise their hand? I have a question for you.
Oh, shit.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, so there's Sarah. Got a few minutes here before we start.
something.
Joe, looks like I've got 9 o'clock. Are you ready? Ashley, I'm sorry, Sarah, you ready? So,
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm ready.
all right, so we got Commissioner Baker, Beasley, Allender, Rojas, Sadowski. Is that everybody? And Beasley, yeah. Okay, so I believe there's 6 of us. So let's go ahead and get started if you don't mind. Welcome everybody to the April 5th, 2022 City Planning Commission meeting. I hope you can hear me okay. It's nice to see everybody again today. It's a big day, obviously. Number one, make sure you get out and vote. There's some things to vote on today. And also I believe there's a celebration for some school down the street. I'm not sure who that is. But congratulations to the Abaji family for the nice win last night. Very well deserved, and it is a good comeback in the second half. That's for sure. City Planning Commissioners understand every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure we address all of the projects individually with the attention that they need to build consensus between the applicant, city staff, and the commission and the public. So the commissioners believe in this virtual world we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. So therefore, we do have time limits in place for the cases that we hear, and that is 5 minutes for staff presentations, 20 minutes for applicant presentations, plus any questions by the commissioners. And then once we move to public comment, please limit your comments to 2 minutes for an individual or to 5 minutes when speaking for someone that's representing a community or a larger association or group. I keep reminding you out there, the city is updating the comprehensive plan. It's a great document. There's a lot of information there. We had an update on that at our last meeting, and I'm sure there's been a lot of stuff that's occurred since then. So make sure you get out there and take a look at it. You can find it at was it KC Playbook? Gosh, I've lost the link to that. Event, it's on the city planning website. I'm sure you'll be able to find it there. So, Joe, as we get started, please provide some ground rules for us, just to make sure that we have a good meeting without disruptions.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. Some basic ground rules before we get started is that all participants, there are currently 53, are divided into one of 2 categories, either panelists or attendees. Panelists are all the rectangles you see on the screen now, and they consist of planning commissioners and staff of the planning commission. Attendees, and Lisa, I'm looking at the list now, Tyler Enders is on the attendee list, so please promote him. Attendees are everyone else who might be here for a case, whether you're an applicant or a citizen. And we will promote you when your case is called if you raise your hand. So we ask that all applicants, as soon as I start to call your case, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll promote you over, accept that request for promotion, and then you'll be able to share your video and audio. Of course, once you do join us and you're able to share your video and audio, we ask that you keep yourself muted until you speak, and then once you're done speaking, mute yourself. That just helps cut out the background noise and makes it easier for everyone to hear what's going on. If you're a citizen who wishes to speak on any case during the public hearing, you can raise your hand at any time during the staff presentation for that case, and we'll promote you over when the chair calls for the public hearing. The same procedures would apply to you as well as the applicant. Just mute yourself when you're not speaking. Lastly, Mr. Chair, the chat feature is intended for asking questions about where we're at on the docket or any technical questions you might have. It's not to be utilized for providing testimony on the merits of any project. And that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe. And just let everybody know, I'll try to keep it updated in the chat where we're located on our cases. So that way you kind of know where you are and you may or may not have time to run the bathroom or whatever. So Joe, let's go ahead and get started with the consent agenda items, please, starting with those that will be continued, if any.
Sure. The first agenda item that we have on consent is for continuance would be docket item C2. The agenda notes approval with conditions, but just this morning we received a request for continuance from the applicant. I'll go ahead and read that. Case number CLD final plat 2021-00058. Request to approve a final plat for Davidson Farms third plat, which is located on the north side of Northeast 76 between Flintlock on the east and Shoal Creek Parkway on the west. Again, the applicant is requesting continuance to April 19th. Since staff had the staff report prepared, we will request that that case be continued with fee. And that is the first of two continuances on consent. The next one is C5. Case number final plat 2022-00014. Request to approve the Quail Valley second plat, which is located at the intersection of Northeast 104th Terrace and North McKinley Avenue. The applicant is requesting continuance of this case to April 19th. Staff is recommending no fee since that request was made before the staff report was written. And those are all the continuances on consent, Mr. Chair. Okay,
any questions from the commission regarding continuance of docket item C2 or C5? Does anyone have any issues with the charging the fee for C2? Okay. All right. With that, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding the continuance of docket items C2 and C5, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one's raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion from the commission, please.
I move to continue docket item C2 to April 19th with a fee and docket item C5 to April 19th with no fee.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket item C2 with a fee and C5 without a fee. Lisa, can you take a roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Beasley?
Aye.
Crowell?
Aye.
Enders?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
And Sadowski?
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes then for continuance of those cases. So let's go ahead and open up the remaining consent agenda items, please.
All right. The next consent agenda item is docket item C1, case number final plat 2019-00018. This is a request to approve a final plat for Prospect Homes, lots 1 through 3 in tracks A and B, which is located on 4.62 acres, located southeast of East 22nd and Olive. And now that I'm reading this, I believe, Najma, correct me if I'm wrong, that this one is also a continuance request that we received yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the date that they have requested continuance to?
At this time, it's to the next CPC meeting, which I believe is April 19th.
Okay. And it was also with fee due to the preparation of the report, right?
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I didn't have this in my notes, but this one is also a continuance with fee. And it's the only other one that I'm aware of on consent. Do you want me to let you guys vote on this one, Mr. Chair, or do you want me to proceed with the rest?
Yeah, let's go ahead and vote on this one then, and before we move on to the other ones. So any questions from the commission regarding continuance of C1? Okay, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony for continuance of C1. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding this continuance, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one's raising their hand.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion for continuance of docket item C1.
I move to continue docket item C1 to April 19th with fee.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket item C1 with fee. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Okay, looks like the motion passes 7-0 to continue docket item C1. All right, let's go ahead with the other ones then.
All right, docket item C 3.1, case number final plat 2022-00004. A request to approve a final plat in District R 7.5 for the Hills of Montclair 4th plat, located on the west side of Cookingham Road, approximately 400 feet south of North Flintlock Road. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Docket item C 3.2, a companion case for the Hills of Montclair 4th plat. This is a project plan to allow to approve landscaping and private open space tracks. Staff is recommending approval with conditions of this one. Next case is docket item C4, case number final plat 2022-00012. This is a request to approve a final plat in District B2-2 on about 10 acres for Bristol's second plat. And a note on this one is I believe the applicant may request removal of a couple conditions here. Next one is docket item C6, case number final plat 2022-00015. Request to approve a final plat in District R 7.5 for Highland Ridge, which is located at Northeast 88th Street and North Elmwood Drive. Staff recommends approval with conditions. Docket item C7, case number CPC 2022-00032. Request to approve a project plan to allow for the construction of 49 multifamily residential units located at 8320 North Green Hills Road. Staff recommends approval with conditions. Docket item C8, case number CPC 2022-00033. Request to approve a project plan to allow for the conversion of a former religious assembly facility into an indoor entertainment venue. The ad here says that, or the docket here says short-term rental. It will not be a short-term rental. That's a typo. It is just the entertainment venue. This is located at West 39th Terrace and Washington Street, and staff is recommending approval with conditions. And then the last one is docket item C9, case number CPC 2022-00008. Request to approve a final plan in District MPD to allow for the construction of eating and drinking establishments on about 1 acre at Tiffany Square East, which is located at the northeast corner of North Ambassador Drive and Northwest 88th Street. Staff is recommending approval with conditions to this case as well. And that concludes consent docket.
Okay, any questions from the commission regarding any of the consent agenda items that are open? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket items C 3.1, 3.2, C4, C6, C7, C8, or C9, please raise your hand and you will be called upon.
Mr. Chairman, Patricia
Yes.
Jensen, Rouse Fretz Law Firm, talking about docket item C4, which is the Bristol second plat. As Joe noted, I have emailed with staff the past couple of days, both Friday and yesterday, and staff has agreed to request that conditions 3 and 5 be removed. They deal with improvements to North Summit Street and the sidewalks along Summit Street, and both have already been improved with previous plans. So we would request that you remove items or conditions 3 and 5 from the approval.
Okay. Anybody else out there?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Chris Maddox, Randy Height, and Fran Stanton have raised their hands, and I'm asking that Lisa promote them. I don't have that ability right now.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Chris Maddox, also an attorney with the Rouse Fretz Law Firm. I'm here today for docket item C8, the first Swedish church conversion. I do have a short presentation that we could give, but I wanted to first see if there was any public comment or questions. Even though a public engagement ordinance doesn't apply to a project plan approval, we went ahead and met with all of the local registered neighborhood groups, as well as residents within 300 feet, because we want to be good neighbors. And so I anticipate that there could be a couple members from the public on today's docket.
Okay. All right, let's see if that's true or not. We'll go from there. All right, who do you have next, Joe?
Also, Fran Stanton, who I see on the screen, and Randy Height.
Okay. Fran, let's start with you, please. As you take yourself off mute, please state your name and address for the record.
Fran Stanton, I'm a business owner at 3916 Broadway, half a block from the church. Owner operated retail business for over 30 years. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I would like to move that the staff recommendation for parking to be a condition for entertainment venue in that facility rather than a recommendation. I think it would be a hardship on the existing businesses and residents of the neighborhood if there weren't some contracted arrangements made for alternative parking.
Okay. All right, we'll take a look at that. Any other comments? Okay. Mr. Height?
Yes, hello. My name is Randy Height. I live in the Valentine neighborhood at 3708 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I'm here today to speak on support of this project. I'm a former member of that church. When we bought our house in Valentine, I used to walk from my house to that church. It is obviously a very historic property. I fully support the redevelopment of this building. Right now, it is not being used for anything. So as I understand it, the historic nature of the outside and the inside will be preserved. And that brings me great joy that this old historic building will be used for a good purpose. As far as Fran's comments about the parking, the building has stood where it has been for over 100 years and has been used as a church. And so I don't feel myself that parking would be something that should prohibit this project from going forward. The building, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be used. And so I would hate for this not to be approved because of the parking.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else, Joe?
Mr. Chair, there was a Carrie Brown that we've promoted where we've tried to promote. I don't know if they've been able to accept the promotion. And that's the only other person that's not staff or the applicant on this case. I also see Mary Jo Draper. Sorry.
Okay, so Mary Jo, are you available?
I am.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Jo Draper. I live at 3625 Pennsylvania, and I'm a resident of the Valentine neighborhood and on the development committee of the Valentine Neighborhood Association board. We'd like to actually thank this developer for coming, inviting us to a public meeting about this project, even though they weren't required to. But I will note that the meeting was held on March 28th, so the whole neighborhood didn't have a chance to weigh in like we usually like to. The board did discuss this, the Board of the Neighborhood Association. We agree with Randy that this church is a really important landmark in our neighborhood, and it's on the historic register, and we really appreciate the fact that the developer has no plan to alter the outside of the church. We do have concerns about parking, and we would like to see this approved with the condition that parking is identified. The developer has told us that he has every intention of identifying parking, but we're just concerned that if something would come up and he wouldn't be able to find parking, a venue that allows 240 people to come to that venue at the same time could put a lot of pressure on parking in the neighborhood. And it just seems like, in fairness to the other businesses that are required to have parking, that it would be good to see that parking is available before this goes forward.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't see anyone else. I'm sorry, I'm not able to promote people today, so it's hard for me to tell who's being added. There's someone named Johnny now.
Okay. I think Fran has one more comment.
Okay.
Fran, go ahead.
Yes. I would like to also say that I was previously a member and a Sunday school teacher at Broadway Baptist Church, as Randy mentioned. We were acquainted 25 years ago. I do have a soft spot in my heart for that building. It's a gorgeous building. I would like to see it preserved. There is a difference between Sunday morning services and a few events here and there, with an event venue that will probably be hosting Friday, Saturday events rather than Sunday morning. That is a very different animal than a regular church type facility.
Okay.
A condition. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to do our presentation. It will be a very brief presentation, well under the 20 minutes or so that we're allotted. And joining me today is also the developer, Johnny Youssef.
Okay, hold on a second. I want to get through all the public testimony first.
Of course.
Okay. Johnny, you want to speak on the open consent agenda items as well?
I'm just here to introduce myself, but I'll let Chris go ahead and take over.
Johnny's he's with the applicant.
Okay, sorry, I apologize about that. Okay, anybody else, Joe, that wants to speak regarding the consent agenda items?
I don't see anyone with raised hands, so I think we're good.
Okay, so just going to hold off before closing public testimony and get back with the commission on this. So it sounds like there's a parking issue or concern on this actual project, and that there's some testimony and things going back and forth. We can continue having this as a case within our consent agenda item, or we can pull it off and make it an actual docket item if we want to be able to spend a little bit more time on there. Is that something that the commission would consider?
I would like it to be separate.
Separate from the consent agenda items?
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Ashley.
Oh, sorry. Agreed.
Okay, so Joe, I think there's going to need to be a little bit more time spent on this actual docket item. So what do we need to do to pull it off the consent and then actually hear it as a case?
I think you can just vote on the other cases, and then we'll take this up before we move on to the regular docket.
Okay. All right. Let's do that then. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak regarding any of the consent agenda items other than C8 and what we've already heard of previously? Okay. So with that, I'm going to close public testimony now for the open projects. And so I'm not sure who's got a lot of background noise going on. If they could mute, that'd be great. So I'll take a motion from the commission regarding docket items C31, C32, C4 with the removal of the two conditions, C6, C7, and C9.
Mr. Chair, can I just hear from the staff on C4 to make sure?
Yeah, you bet. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Matthew Barnes, City Planning Development and Development Management Division. I've been talking with Patricia the last few days, Patricia Jensen, regarding these removal of the conditions, and we are in support. I've spoke with Lucas Casper, who has added the conditions, and he is in support of removing them as well, as those improvements have already been made.
Okay. Anything to add, Mr. Casper?
No, I support it. It was in regards to the sidewalks for the half street improvements, and what I go off of is Street View. Sometimes it's not the most up to date, but I've looked into it. The sidewalks are there, so I support having that removed.
Okay, thank you. All right. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Corral, I move to approve docket items C1, C3.1, C3.2, C4 with removal of conditions 3 and 5, C6, C7, and C9 as stated in the docket, unless noted otherwise.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second. Lisa, can you take a roll call, please, on that motion?
Mr. Chair, real quick, I believe, just a point of clarification. Matt, is it conditions 3 and 5 or 3 and 4 on C4?
3 and 5. Yeah, it should be 3 and 5.
Okay, then it's right. In my notes, I said had 4. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Corral,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes 7-0 for approval of docket items C3.1, C3.2, C4, C6, C7, and C9. Okay, so with that, let's come back to docket item C9, and let's go ahead and treat this as a regular case. And so if I can get a presentation from city staff first, then we'll hear from the applicant after that, and then we'll reopen it up for public testimony after that. Does that work for everybody? And then we'll go close the testimony and speak amongst the commission afterwards. So go ahead.
Good morning. Yep.
I was just going to say this is Andy Clark's case. Go ahead, Andy.
Sorry, Joe.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Crow and fellow commissioners. I'm going to share my screen and show my PowerPoint. I was not sure if this would really be pulled off all the way. So as a planner, I was not completely prepared. But I have the staff report, and can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And I will pull up another map for reference here. 3931 Washington Street. This church is on the National Register. The applicant is proposing to turn it into a wedding event venue and other events as well. So, you know, preserving the building, they did not propose any exterior changes. On the interior, the developer or applicant would like to bring it up to fire code. And the biggest concern staff had with this project, of course, is being a good neighbor and trying to find potential parking. And the applicant has been working on that with staff and with surrounding property owners. So on the second page of the staff report, you can see that they've identified 6 potential sites for parking. And to go back on, I think Mr. Height brought it up, the church functioned for years and years without a parking lot, but the church is typically busy on a Sunday morning. And when we look at the context here, we're dealing with Westport, which Friday and Saturday all day, it's limited parking. Staff did recommend, again, that the applicant find alternative parking. due to the time of their events conflicting with the popularity of Westport already. We cannot, staff, I did not make it a requirement as a condition on the parking because it's a historic building and the city wants to preserve and reuse historic buildings. We don't require off-street parking if a building is on the local or national register. So that is why I did not make it a condition.
Just to interrupt, sorry, is that a Chapter 88 kind of rule in there about historical buildings?
Chapter 88, it's under the exemptions. That's correct. 88-420-04, and that's in my staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I will applaud the applicant. They are trying, and it's not required. But I do hear also what the neighborhood is saying to the commissioners, that I do think it's fair to try to come up with some solution here to alleviate the parking on a Friday and Saturday. That's really all. The applicant is also providing bicycle parking. There was no parking before, so that is a great addition to the community. If you have more questions, please let me know. I don't have any other slides.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to city staff regarding this case? All right, let's go ahead and open it up for the applicant then. So thank you, Mr. Maddox, for understanding here and your patience.
Oh, no, of course. Chairman Crow, my name is Chris Maddox. Again, I'm an attorney with the Rouse Fretz White Goss Law Firm, address of 4510 Bellevue Avenue, Suite 300, Kansas City, Missouri, 64111. I am joined today with the developer that has this property under contract, Mr. Johnny Youssef, and then also available, if there are questions, is our architect, Mr. Adam Pfeiffer. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a short presentation. I hope you guys can see this PowerPoint pulled up.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. As Andy mentioned, this is the same photo that he used too. This is at 3931 Washington. Our request today is just to come before the CPC to request an approval of a project plan to really change this use, which has been established for well over 100 years, from a religious assembly use, which, by the way, did have weddings and receptions as part of that religious assembly use. We just want to change that basically into a full-time wedding event venue. And then we do have plans to come back to CPC and then eventually to BZA for approval of a special use permit, but that's for a separate case. So the background of this property, again, the congregation was originally established back in 1872, and the building was designed and constructed between 1921 and 1923. The adjacent school, which is now the Plaza Academy, was constructed in 1929. In 2017, this property was sold, and the church relocated to another place. And currently, the property is still used as a church. It's leased for Sunday morning worships to the Refuge KC. And then there also is an apartment unit occupied by an individual. Again, this is the location of the property. It's at the southwest corner of West 39th Terrace and Broadway. It's zoned B3-2. There is no rezoning that's requested or required. The proposed indoor wedding event venue or small indoor entertainment venue is permitted by right in the zoning district. And then when we come back to CPC and BZA for approval of a special use permit to provide for 4 hotel units, that use is also permitted. It just requires obviously the special use permit. So when Johnny set out to really look at what this property can be used for, he established some goals for the project. Obviously, this is a historic property, and so we want to minimize any exterior changes. We want to preserve the exterior of this church because it is a beautiful building. Additionally, we really want to preserve the historic uses of this property. I know it was obviously associated with religious assembly, but as I mentioned, weddings have taken place at this church. There are many people who have been married at this church over the years, and so we want to continue that use into the future. And then eventually, we would like to add the 4 hotel units, which will be occupied primarily by guests of the venue. So, when I got married, for example, and Johnny is actually engaged to be married and will be married here pretty soon. When we go look at these wedding venues, oftentimes we have a lot of family coming in from out of town. And so when we have out of town guests that can come, they can set up at the venue, they can spend time together. We really look at this more as like an accessory use to the overall wedding event space. But again, we can touch more on this when we are back before CPC with that separate case. But this was all the information that we presented to the neighborhood. Again, we wanted to be good neighbors. The project plan approval before you today was not required for public engagement, but again, we wanted to be very transparent and upfront with our overall plans and intended uses for this property as a whole. As Andy mentioned, this property is also on the historic registry, the Federal Historic Registry, and there's a copy of the certificate that was approved in 2018. And then this table is something that we prepared to really just highlight how we feel the current use and the proposed use really match up pretty nicely. Again, our goal is to try to continue a lot of the existing uses that predate our purchase of the property. So obviously the first floor of this building is the basement reception hall. It will continue to be used as a reception hall. That would be the location where the wedding venue, the reception venue will be located. The first floor is the sanctuary with restrooms, offices, and the apartment unit. Again, we don't plan to do any material modifications to the interior of the sanctuary. We want to preserve a lot of that historic feature and ornamentation that's already there. We will be required to bring in wet sprinklers. That's really the only planned change from our perspective that we plan to do to the sanctuary. The second floor is a balcony seating for around the sanctuary. And then it also has some classrooms and offices. And then it's the conversion of those classrooms and offices into about 4 hotel room suites. That's really the only material change in use for this property. And then same thing for the third floor, classrooms and offices converted to suites. These are the floor plans that are contained in the staff report. I don't think there's really any need to go into a whole lot of more detail, but again, this is the basement floor plan. This is the sanctuary on the first floor. This is the balcony seating with the offices that will be used currently as kind of bridal staging areas. When wedding parties, get together, they're pretty much at this venue all day. They'll have photos taken, and so they need a place where they can, set up shop, get dressed, and hang out for the day while the wedding party is waiting to start the reception. So here's the third floor, again, converting those classrooms to suites. We agree with all of the staff's review criteria that they've identified in the staff report. So I don't think there's any issues that we have with that. And then when we get to parking, as Andy mentioned, the code obviously does impose parking requirements in most cases, but there are certain exceptions to that with in overall trying to balance the city's goals of historic preservation. The city has decided that in certain cases, when a property is historic, that additional off-street parking should not be a required condition for plan approval. If you look at 88-420-01B, again, the regulations are designed to promote flexibility and recognize that excessive off-street parking conflicts with this city's policy with respect to historic preservation. Now, that said, the existing use of this church with 450 occupancy in the main sanctuary area, we could have, I think, gone forward with that exception and then allowed for up to 450 guests at this wedding event venue. But we felt that, again, we wanted to be a good neighbor. And so when we look at what the seating capacity is for the reception hall, it's about 250 people. So we are going to impose a self-constraint on the number of attendees that we can have at this event venue. So rather than 450 maximum for the wedding, we're going to cap that at 240. And again, when we look at what the code would require then in this case, if there wasn't an exception for historic use, the code also provides that when we have these grandfather type uses, that you shouldn't be required, you shouldn't be penalized for any legal use in which that was established that did not have any lawful parking So if there's a lawful parking deficit, like there is in this case, because this property was built in the 1920s, there wasn't a need for parking back then. And so, even outside of the exemption for historic homes, there is this idea that we shouldn't have to make up on these lawful deficits. So again, we are imposing a self-constraint on the number of people that we would host at this venue to, again, alleviate some of the concern that the neighbors have expressed. And then again, as Andy mentioned, in our plans, we've identified several parking lots nearby that's within a block or two walking distance. Johnny is on this call, and he can talk about all of the meetings, phone calls, and communication that he's had with these neighbor groups. We had one promising lead, but it was not for a legal parking lot. It's not currently paved, so that lead didn't pan out. And then we have tried to get our neighbor to the west of us to allow us to use their parking lot, but we can't make anyone enter into an agreement with us. We can't force them, obviously, to lease. And so we really have tried, because it really is in our best interest to find parking for our guests. But we can't force anyone to lease space to us. So next steps for us in terms of parking, we're going to expand the radius that we're looking at in terms of 1 block walk. We might now be looking in that 4 to 6 block range. And so we're going to continue to try to find that parking, again, because it's important to our guests, but I don't think it should be a condition of approval. I do want to note too that within a year that the main street, the streetcar extension is planned for development, so that by the fall of 2023, which is around the time that Johnny would probably be looking to open this business, we will have the streetcar extended 4 blocks due east of our site. We hope that will also help alleviate a lot of the parking, not just for our site, but for a lot of Westport parking. And so, we look forward to that streetcar extension. This summarizes all of the public engagement steps that we took, again, to meet with the neighbors, to listen to their concerns, and then to try to address them. And again, we would just request that the City Plan Commission approve this project plan with conditions as outlined by staff, and that they not add an additional condition that requires parking when the code does not. Any questions?
Any questions from the commission to the applicant on this? If you can stop sharing, that'd be great.
My only question is, does your lender require you to have parking?
No, not in this case. They would only require it,
if there's a zoning
Yeah,
issue?
if it was a zoning issue, but
Okay.
there isn't.
Could you speak to the plan for staff parking? Is it just, come early, find a spot, and then also I just imagine, so it doesn't really concern me for guests, but in terms of event rentals and things being brought in from vendors, I know that often that can be like lots of big trucks and it takes hours to load and unload. Can you speak to kind of the plan for that?
Yeah, sure. Johnny's on here. He might have put some thought into kind of where there's going to be parking, loading and unloading. Again, we would probably rely pretty heavily on catering staff to come in and set up the tables and to run the food service, for example. Johnny, are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Maddox, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a great question, Tyler. As far as vendors, as Chris mentioned, I'm actually, me and my fiance just looked over 25 venues for our wedding. So gotten some experience with that. And I would say one big thing is that most of these venues have a lot of the rentals available for additional costs or for rent, and they usually limit outside vendors and trucks because of that reason. So when it comes to any large items, as far as event tables and all that, that will be provided and will probably be very limited in allowing anything from the outside. It's just not good for parking. It's not good for furniture coming in and out and the wear and tear on the property. So there shouldn't be any large items coming in and out. If it is needed for whatever event, I believe that the best case, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, Chris, but historically, I believe the main entry on the back of 3931 and Washington, which is a lot less traffic, and there's a larger door there rather than the front. That's probably where, if for any reason we do need a truck to come in and bring stuff, which again, I believe is going to be limited. It's going to be from that end where there's less traffic and it's definitely less congested back there. So that's one thing we're planning to do, but mostly it's just going to be catering, where they're just going to be bringing food, which should not be any large trucks or anything like that.
All right, any other questions?
That's a question to staff. If we approve, are we just approving it to be a wedding venue, or if the building gets sold or the developer sells it, then have we approved it just to be a venue for another nightclub or whatever they want to put in there because it's an entertainment venue? So just trying to get some clarification around, is there a limited use that we're approving today because the applicant has essentially talked about a wedding venue, or again, can it be used if it's sold to be another entertainment venue?
Yes, let me unmute there. Sorry. No, that's a great question. To answer your question, the reason why you're seeing this case today is the size of the building triggers a project plan, and a project plan has to be approved through the City Plan Commission. If this building was 7,999 square feet, they would not have to go through this entitlement process. And with the current zoning, they would be allowed to do an event venue that could include weddings. It could include concerts. It's based on the capacity of that building. So you will also be dealing with building code on the size and scale of the activities that go on there. But what I'm trying to say is the current zoning allows this use outright. And if the building was smaller, you wouldn't even be seeing this case.
In other words, you're not being asked to approve the use. The use is already allowed by ordinance. So whether or not you approve this plan, they could proceed with the use.
Yeah, they could use it for anything.
Anything that's allowed in the district, yes.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions, if I might.
Fire away.
I know, I appreciate the fact that they did bring up the concern of parking and how they have looked at other areas to accommodate that. And they've mentioned that it currently is being used by another religious organization. Do we know how big that congregation is? Is it anywhere close to the 240 so that the issue of parking is being addressed now? Anybody have any information on that?
Commissioner Beasley, I've only seen the leases through the title commitment that we saw when we're currently under contract to acquire this property. And so the leases were part of the due diligence that the seller provided to us, but I have no knowledge of how big that congregation is that currently occupies the church. I just don't know.
So then if I work backwards even a little further, how long has it been since there's been an active congregation attending there then?
I think my understanding of the history was that when the Westport Baptist Church vacated in around 2017, when they found another church home and the property was sold around that time frame, that is the last time that the church was used fully and exclusively for religious assembly. And again, that was, let me see if I can find that date.
2017 is good enough. So that's about 5 years that we haven't had continual volume of parking needs is what I'm trying to look at. The mention of having, you said hotel space there in the venue. Is it going to be able to be marketed outside wedding venues so that it's just out there and people could look maybe an Airbnb and say, this is here? How is that going to work? Because again, I'm looking at parking and
Right.
it wouldn't just be the typical days weddings typically take place. It could be other days.
Right.
And I realize it may not be that many people that would impact the parking, but it still would generate the traffic in and out of the building. So that would affect the neighborhood too. So any information on that?
I'll provide an answer and then Johnny can supplement, but obviously the 4 hotel suites that we're talking about are designed to be tied to anyone that is using the property for a Friday or a Saturday or even a Sunday wedding. Again, we want to make the hotel available to the family, the extended family of the bride or the groom when they come into town for the wedding. Now, Monday through Thursday, I think that there could be an interest in Johnny to make the 4 suites available. But that is also that matches up with the really non-peak parking issues associated with Westport. You know, I think on a given Monday or Tuesday evening, Westport isn't as heavily trafficked as it is on the weekend when the wedding venue use will be tied to the hotel. Johnny, do you want to add anything?
That's
Yes,
good. That's good.
Sorry, sorry, that's exactly correct. It's gonna be exclusively for the wedding. So when family are coming in town for a wedding or anything like that during the weekend, they can stay there. But during the week when it's slower, we probably have it open Monday through Thursday or so. If someone wants to book it, but then it's a lot less congested than it's by Westport, where you see that as a common thing and people walk around Westport and stay there. So that's exactly right.
So I appreciate your answers. It's a beautiful building and I think weddings would be a perfect venue. So I appreciate the interaction you've had with the neighborhoods, and I'm kind of disappointed only one business owner is there and we haven't really heard from them, but that's fine too. So thank you. I'm through, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, so with
I
that,
had a question. I just wondered if you had, thinking about out of town guests, if you had thought about a partnership with a hotel to shuttle people from the hotel to the venue, just to make it easier to not have those out of town guests bringing their cars to the venue.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the deal. The concern is not just the neighbors, but also I'm well aware that if you're offering a wedding venue and you tell people, hey, there's no place for you to park, that can really hurt business. So I'm very aware of that. So it is more beneficial to me in every way to make sure that I offer that to guests for a great experience. Otherwise, that can really hurt the business when people, put on Yelp, there was no place to park and we went to the wedding late because of it. So I'm very aware of that. And we are pursuing that options. And one of the options that we're really excited about also is the streetcar, because it lines up perfectly with the urbanization development of that area. It lines up with the time the business is probably going to start, like Chris mentioned. So one great option, and that will open up a lot of options of maybe offering parking even further, even if it's within a mile or two away. But if we have the streetcar service being offered by the city, or even a valet service with hotels, we'll definitely do that. And it's definitely something that's going to be in the work. So there's going to be a lot of other options besides the traditional, parking that's adjacent to the property that people are used to. People, when they come to the city, and that's very common in a lot of cities, when there's a wedding venue in the middle of the city, they are looking for options as valet through hotels or parking that's a little further away, and then they're using public transportation. So we're looking for all those options.
okay, anybody else? All right. So I said I'd reopen public testimony again to see if there's anybody else that would like to speak regarding this case. I think we've heard from folks already. From Fran Stanton, Randy Height, and Mary Jo Draper.
And Mr. Chair, no one else has raised their hand either.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else to add, applicant, on regarding this case?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close all testimony and speak amongst the commission. And if there's nothing to discuss, then I'll take a motion, please. Sounds like the biggest issue is the parking. In my opinion, it is a historic facility, which doesn't require the parking. That's kind of where the standards are. It's an unfortunate thing given what's going to be used there, but this project does have my support.
I would say I would agree. I think we have a lot of people that come and ask to get away from city standard and city code, and I think this would be adding to city code, which is not something that we want to be doing. And I believe that there is enough incentive for a business to adequately get parking, as the applicant said, that the Yelp reviews would probably be pretty poor if there was no option or transportation option to the venue. So I'm going to be in support of it without the requirement of parking, but the condition that they continue the due diligence.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm all for keeping.
Commissioner Allen, there's something's going on with your microphone. It's kind of hard to.
Can you hear me?
Staticky. Yeah.
Is that better?
That's better, yes.
I just need to sit closer. No, I'm in support of the project. I would hate to see a historic building lost in the city. So I'm supportive of the case with the conditions.
Okay.
So can I clarify something? It's not a requirement to have parking, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you. Just want to clarify.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion, please?
I move to approve docket item C8 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item C8 with conditions stated. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Okay, so it looks like the motion passes for approval of docket item C8 as written. Thank you for bringing that in and letting us spend a little extra time on that. So good luck as you move forward.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Joe, let's go ahead and get started with our regular agenda items, beginning with the cases that will be continued and or dismissed, please.
The first case is docket item 1.1 and 1.2, which are companion. These are dismissals for case number CPC 2021-00149. The collection at Martin City, which was proposed at the northeast corner of 132nd Terrace and Cherry Street. And docket item 1.2, which is a rezoning for the same project. In both cases, the applicant has requested dismissal. The next case is a continuance. It's docket item 2. There are 3 companion cases. 2.1 is case number CPC 2021-00171. This is a request to rezone property located between 31st Street and 32nd Street on the east side of Main to allow for construction of a parking garage and non-accessory parking and a mixed-use building for offices, medical office, retail, and education. The applicant, Ability KC, has requested continuance of this case to May 3rd, and staff recommends without fee. That's the same is true for the companion case 2.2, which is a request to amend the Midtown Plaza area plan for this project, and docket item 2.3, which is a request to approve a development plan for this project. Again, in all 3 cases, the applicant's requesting continuance to May 3rd, and staff recommends without fee. Next continuance is
Sorry, can I interrupt you with fee?
Without fee.
With fee.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was reading it wrong. Docket item 3 is case number CPC 2021-00202. The request to rezone a third of an acre from District R6 to District B2 located at 4903 Northeast Vivian Road. The applicant in this case is requesting continuance to May 17th, and staff is recommending with fee. Next continuances are docket item 5. There are 2 companion cases. In this case, the agenda is wrong. It says approval. However, the staff report does recommend continuance. And that is because by the time the staff report was written, the applicant had not paid the application fees. So it's docket item 5.1, case number CPC 2022-00018. This is a request to approve a preliminary plat for Bodie Residential Development, which is a 53-unit residential development at the northwest corner of 39th and Jackson. And docket item 5.2 is a final plat for the same. Again, these are both continuance to April 19th. And staff would recommend without fee on those 2. The next continuance is docket item 7.1, which is case number CPC 2022-00019. This is a request to approve a rezoning to from District M1-5 and R80 to District M2-5 on 105 acres at the northwest corner of 155th Street and I-49 for the I-49 Commerce Center. And docket item 7.2 is a request to approve a development plan to allow the development of 1.3 million square feet of warehouse development at the same location. In both cases of 7.1 and 7.2, the applicant is requesting continuance and staff recommends without fee to May 3rd. Next continuance is docket item 9, case number CPC 2022-00021. This is a request to approve a rezoning from District R6 to District MPD and approve a preliminary development plan for Redwood on North Brighton to allow for construction of 313 residential units on 52 acres located on the west side of Brighton between Northeast 60th and on the north side and Northeast 57th Street on the south. The applicant is requesting continuance to April 19th and staff recommends no fee. Docket item number 10, case number CPC 2022-00026, a request to approve a rezoning from District R2.5 to District B1-1 to allow for a daycare center at 900 Northeast Berry Road. The applicant has requested continuance to May 17th and staff recommends with fee.
That should be without fee.
Okay, without fee on that one. Docket item 13 is case number SUP 2022-00004. This is a request to approve a special use permit for a type 2 short-term rental located at 4523 Wyoming Street. The applicant is requesting dismissal because they were able to secure approval of an administratively for this short-term rental. And then the last one is docket item 14, case number CPC 2021-00214. This is a request to amend Chapter 88 as it relates to minor subdivisions and residential districts lot and building standards. Generally, both pertain to infill residential development. Staff was going to present to you what we're doing with this. We weren't going to ask the commission to take any action today. However, the agenda was published with a recommendation for continuance to May 3rd. So we'll go ahead and stick with that and we'll talk with you guys about it on April 19th is our preference. If you would so choose to make that vote, we would appreciate it. A continuance to April 19th. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So several cases here. So let me read through those to make sure I got them right. We're looking to dismiss docket items 1.1, 1.2, and docket item 13. And then we want to continue docket items 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 3, 5.1 and 5.2, 7.1, 7.2, 9, 10, and 14. All right.
And the only ones not written on the docket were 5.1 and 5.2, right? And then also 10 was changed to be without fee. Is that correct?
10 is without fee, and 14 is to April 19.
Okay.
And then I believe, let's see, 2.1 would be with a fee, since 2.2 and 2.3 are.
Okay.
All right.
Can I get clarity? Joe, were you wanting us to vote on docket item 14 on the 19th or just review it?
No, it's just going to be a presentation. We've been working on this for a few months now, and we felt it was appropriate to bring you guys up to speed on what we're doing. There's going to still need to be additional public engagement, which we're starting. We started on that a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be continuing that through April and a part of May. So we just wanted to bring you up to speed on what we're doing. You wouldn't be asked to take any action until probably the second meeting in May.
I'm not going to be present on the 19th, but I could certainly watch the YouTube afterwards just to catch myself up, but I don't know if that would prohibit me from voting.
I won't be here the 19th as well.
I think that it probably would. You would not be on a quorum if we do present it on the 19th. So I guess I would leave that up to you guys. If you would prefer the 3rd, that's fine as well. But we are trying to get this to city council sometime in early summer, like in June.
Okay.
So can you just give me clarification on docket item 13 again? They found a way to get through the short term.
Yeah,
I can't.
Your microphone again.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'll get very close. Docket item 13, can you just clarify what happened on docket item 13 again for not to get a special use?
Yeah, I kind of fumbled that one. I'm a fan of that school down the road that Kobe referenced, so it was a late night for me. But I will tell you that on that one, type 2 short-term rentals, there are 2 types excuse me, of type 2 short-term rentals. One is year-round and one is seasonal. If you're proposing a year-round type 2 short-term rental, you have to obtain consent from 55% of the adjacent property owners. If you're unable to obtain that consent, you can apply for a special use permit and have that approved in lieu of it. It's my understanding that this customer believed he was not going to get that consent, so he applied for the special use permit. It got advertised, meaning we sent out public hearing notice, and it was after that was advertised and the notice was sent out that he secured the consent from a property owner he needed to push him over 55%. And so we were then obligated to approve his administrative application. Since this special use permit was advertised and notices were sent, we have to put this on the docket, and he's now obviously not wishing to proceed with it since he got administrative approval. So he's asking for dismissal.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? All right, with that, I'll go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding continuance or dismissal of any of the cases that are currently open, please raise your hand and you will be called upon.
I see Patrick Joyce has raised his hand, and I'd ask that Lisa promote him, please. There's also KB. The name's disappeared, but KB will show up on the screen, he or she.
Okay. Hi, Patrick. As you take yourself off mute, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, this is Patrick Joyce with Anderson Engineering, 941 West 141st Terrace, KCMO. I just came to talk on 5.1 and 5.2, the preliminary and final plats for Bodie. When last I spoke with Olfu, he was going to continue these to the 19th based on the fact that we had inadvertently not paid our our fees, but I think everything else was in order. We've since done that, and I guess hearing that we're not going to have a quorum on the 19th, I was seeing if there was any way we could possibly discuss those today. I wasn't able to find a staff report. Maybe it's just not going to be possible, but I just wanted to bring that up.
I think we'll still have a quorum on the 19th. We're just going to have a couple of commissioners out. The quorum consists of 4 members. So we're going to have that for sure.
Okay. Okay. That being said, is there any way to hear it today just to get
Not
it
if
done?
the fee hasn't been paid. No.
No, that's what I say. The fee has been paid since I talked with Olafu on Thursday, but so I say.
Yeah, the issue is that his staff report was prepared before the fee was paid, and it's a report for continuance as a result. And so there's no information. There's nothing for the commission to approve right now, even if they wanted to. There's nothing attached to the report.
Okay, I understand. That was my fear. I couldn't find one, so.
Yeah.
All right, understood.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else out there, Joe? They said there's
No.
one other person.
Yeah, there was someone that had raised their hand. That it was a string of letters and numbers that started with KB. I saw it very briefly, and I don't see them on the screen.
Okay.
So they either lowered their hand or they left the meeting.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and close public testimony then. If there's nothing else to discuss, I'll take a motion, please, on continuance of the docket items and or dismissal, please.
I'll take a stab at it. I move to dismiss docket items 1.1 and 1.2 and 13. I move to continue docket items 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 to May 3rd with a fee. Docket item 3 to continue to May 17th with fee. 5.1, 5.2 continued April 19th without a fee. 7.1, 7.2 continued to May 3rd without a fee. Docket item 9 continued April 19th without a fee. 10 continued to May 17th without a fee. And the docket item 14th continued to April 19th. Is that what we agreed on?
I think since we had 2 commissioners out, we talked about maybe just keeping it at May 3rd.
Let's do modify my motion on docket item 14 continued to May 3rd without a fee.
Just want to let you know as an FYI that quorum rule doesn't apply to a text amendment. So if you want to go ahead and hear it on the 19th, that would not prevent those who are absent from voting, just FYI.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, so okay, so I've got a motion. Is there a second? We'll have a discussion after having a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second, so we need to have a little discussion on number 14 regarding the date. Since it is a text amendment, I think there's a little time constraint here. What are the other commissioners, even though a couple will be out?
I think we should go ahead and move it to the 19th, and then because it's a easy Zoom, or I mean, easy YouTube watch. Just you can watch it at 1.5 speed too.
Okay. Does that work for you, Forstine?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with that, Mr. Baker, can you amend your motion again?
I re-amend my motion on docket item 14 to continue to April 19th instead of May 3rd.
All right. So Forstine, does your second still apply?
Yes.
Okay. So I've got a motion and a second for continuance or dismissal of those docket items as stated. Lisa, please take the roll call.
Just making that note. I kept changing it. Okay, got it. Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
All right, motion passes for continuance and or dismissal of the cases as read. So now that takes us back to docket item number 4.
Okay, docket item number 4 is case number C 4.1 CPC 2022-00027. This is a request to approve the area plan amendment to the Midtown Plaza area plan for a development project known as Midtown Plaza to change the recommended land use from residential medium density to residential high density on about 1.5 acres, generally located on the east side of Pennsylvania Avenue between 34th Street on the north and 34th Terrace on the south. And docket item 4.2 is case number CPC 2021-00222. This is a request to amend the previously approved preliminary development plan in District UR to allow for changes to phases 3 and 4 of the approved plan to allow for apartments. Olafeg Baji is the staff planner, but of course he is in New Orleans today, so Matt Barnes is going to be presenting on his behalf. You okay, Matt?
Matt's having some technical difficulties. Bear with us for a second.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. How are you guys doing today? Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. It keeps on going in and out for some reason. So bear with me. I'll try to get everything. Let me just stop and reshare. My screen is going black and then coming back up. I do apologize. Okay. Good morning. My name is Matthew Barnes, City Planning and Development, Development Management Division, and speaking on 4.1, which is case number CD ROW 2022-00027. And that is not correct. Those case numbers are wrong. I do apologize. We have case number CD CPC 2022-00027 and CD CPC 000-00222. I do apologize. My screen will not change slides.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest that maybe we go to the next case and let Matt try to work on the technical issues and perhaps send me the PowerPoint to run for him. But that'll take us a few minutes if you want to move on to the next one in between.
Okay, let's do that. So we'll hold open docket item 4.1 and 4.2 and then move to docket item 6, please.
All right, docket 6 is case number CPC 2022-00014. This is a request to approve a preliminary plat on 4 acres located at 2415 Northeast Vivian Road. Anna Naniski is the staff planner.
One moment.
Anna's on her way. She was trying to help me. I do apologize.
My apologies. I ran over to Matt's desk to try to help him. What's going on?
It's your case.
It's my case. Okay, so per our rules in 88, preliminary plats can be approved by the DRC, the Development Review Committee, and this preliminary plat has already been approved by the DRC. There is a short staff report / memo already in the packet that was provided to the commission today. So technically you don't have to make an action today. It was more of an FYI that this was already prepared. But however, due to other procedures such as the notification process that we do for this meeting, it had already been advertised and had been posted. The applicant has already completed their community engagement. So we had to follow through and place it on this docket. So just to conclude it up, this is just an FYI for the commission at this moment. I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess with nothing to be presented, the project's already been approved by another ways and means. Do we have to hold a public hearing on this then, or no?
That's an answer better for Sarah.
Okay.
I think since you advertised it, there might be people on the call that are here to speak to the item. So I think it would be a good idea to at least ask for public testimony. Okay,
I'll do that. So docket item 6 is open. It's a request to approve a preliminary plat located at 2415 Northeast Vivian Road. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak regarding this docket item, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
No one is raising their hand, Mr. Chair.
Darn it. Because then I was curious about what to do next.
So quick question though, this is for that scooters drive-through on that big commercial building that we are basically taking a portion of the parking lot and making it a drive-through. Is that correct? That we approved a while back?
Correct. The commission approved a rezoning of this property back in January, I believe. So there is a large tract of land with potentially a Planet Fitness and a Red Rex thrift store on the site right now, and they're dividing up the uppermost section of that lot. It's like the upper bit of the triangle at the intersection of Vivian and Antioch. Sorry. And they are putting a drive-through coffee shop there. It's similar to a Scooters, but it is not exactly a Scooters.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. And from this point, thanks for presenting the case. And it just kind of goes away from our agenda items, right? There's nothing
right, it's done.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so are we ready to go back then to docket item 4.1 and 2?
I'm gonna ask, Matt's also having just general computer problems. It's not Zoom. So I'm gonna ask him if he can turn on his audio.
Right now?
Let us, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Joe, do you have that PowerPoint to share?
Yes.
I can run through it if you want to look that way.
Okay. So then let's go ahead and go back to docket items 4.1 and 4.2. Is the applicant available too, just to make sure?
Yes, we have Dustin Burton, who's raised his hand. I know he's with the applicant team. Josh Kashani, I believe, is the developer. We're with the developers team. So if Lisa, if you could promote them.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back then to docket items 4.1 and 4.2. I believe they're already open. The case numbers are CPC 2022-00027 and CPC 2021-00222. So please proceed with the presentation.
Okay, and Joe, it'll be a few slides down. Keep going. There we go. So the site is located in the Midtown area, just on the west side of Broadway. Next slide. Seen here, it is in, next slide. Here's an aerial view of the area. It is north of the Kansas City Life Insurance Building, seen at the southern portion of the screen there, and just south of the VFW building. Next slide. Here's an aerial view of the site looking north. The white building there in the middle has been converted already to apartment buildings. Next slide. And the next phase will be which is, I believe, under construction currently, on the left side of the screen there, retail buildings that are under construction. This phase will be, which we are discussing today, is to the north, or to the top of the screen there in that parking lot, which is originally planned as phases 3 and 4 of this UR project. Next slide. Here's the original UR plan from 2015. It is originally approved townhouses along Pennsylvania Avenue there in blue on the left side of the screen, and a 5-story apartment building in red in the center there. If you go to the next screen, it'll show you some of the phasing of that and the total square footage of the buildings. The originally planned was the townhouses would be for sale, I believe, along Pennsylvania Avenue, 3 stories, and it would serve as a buffer between the neighborhood and the 5-story apartment complex. Next slide. Here is the original plans for the 5-story apartment building, seen in the center of the plan. And the next screen will show you the original townhouses that were planned along Pennsylvania Avenue. On the next slide, this is the new proposed 3-story apartment building that will be serving as a buffer from the 5-story apartment building towards the neighborhood. These apartments will be for rent, I believe, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong if there's any condos associated with this. The next slide shows more elevations. There are no curb cuts on Pennsylvania Avenue, and both access to the interior parking is from the side streets that run east to west. One access on each side for the apartment buildings. And the view at the top shows the 3-story apartments in the foreground with the 5 stories in the background. On the next slide shows the proposed changes. The units are going up by almost 70 units, and the total parking is also going up. They are meeting the parking requirements as they have over 1 spot per unit. The original plan had 4 phases, and this proposed amendment consolidates phases 3 and 4, so both apartment buildings would be under construction at the same time. On the next slide, staff recommends approval with conditions for both dockets, 4.1 and 4.2.
I'm going to guess, Matt, that that's probably a typo on 4.1 because we've never recommended approval with conditions on an area plan amendment.
Oh, I would say so too.
Yeah,
that's what the docket says, for approval without conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission regarding docket item 4.1 and 4.2? Okay, not seeing any. Let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. So applicants, welcome. So we got Mr. Burton.
Yes, sir. You guys hear me okay?
Yes. Is there anybody else with you?
Yeah, with me today, there should be Butch Doherty at BA Architecture, looks like he's on, and then Josh and Joseph Tashani with the ownership group are on as well. I'll give a pretty brief overview of kind of the site and where we came from, where we're at now, and probably turn it over to Butch because really a lot of the site is architectural in nature. So
can you give us your name and address for the record?
yeah, absolutely. Yep. Apologies. Dustin Burton. I'm at 1815 McGee Street, Kansas City, Missouri. And I'll go ahead and just share my screen real quick. So as staff mentioned, this is the approved development plan that was done back in 2015. It was separated out into 4 phases. The first 2 phases kind of on the.
Sorry, I'm not seeing your screen.
Oh, let's see, where'd it go? There we go. How's that?
I think there it is. Got it.
Apologies for that. The east side of the page here, the right-hand side of the page, phases 1 and 2, that's since been constructed. And so we're really kind of looking here at the phases 3 and 4. And this is the old approved plan. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's changed as we flip-flop back and forth. Phase 3 was kind of the 5-story apartment buildings. And then phase 4 was kind of those 3-story townhouses. And those townhouses, just a note, had first floor was kind of the parking garages. So those were on the back end of the units. And then the living itself was stories 2 and 3 after that. So the proposed, you'll note here as well, we had to enter those townhouses was off of Pennsylvania. So with this amended plan, what we're proposing is we're proposing that the units on the west side become kind of more apartment style. We take off those entrances and then we internalize all of the parking within itself. So this is actually a structured parking in place of both phases. So phases 3 and 4 become essentially one phase. The location of to access that garage remains just about the same spot as it did with the original plan. This is just more of a parking structure that is above all. And I'll flash over to kind of that elevation so you can kind of see how that ends up. We kind of internalize those amenity spaces, and then you can kind of see that the parking structure itself kind of encompasses the full area there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Butch. You can kind of get into some of the details with the building itself and some of those changes.
Thank you, Dustin. Good morning. As Dustin was saying, actually, I did want to make a correction too. Phase 2 of this original project has not been built yet. Phase 1 has been built. This work here is for phases 3 and 4. The original phase had 114 total units in it. That included the 20 townhomes and the 114 units on 5-story apartments. Vehicle access, as Dustin mentioned, was from 34th Street, 34th Terrace for the phase 3, and then from Pennsylvania for the phase 4. We had 134 total units and 240 bedroom spaces. The new design has 174 units. It's actually 4 stories above the concrete podium. The phase 4, or the Pennsylvania side, has 38 all 2-bedroom, 3-story units. We have covered parking for 178 spaces underneath that concrete podium, and then 40 spaces that are uncovered. So the new plan has 202 total units, 268 total bedrooms, and as mentioned before, we have 217 parking spaces, which exceeds the requirement of the city. We met with the neighborhood association, and they requested that we have front porches to meet the neighborhood. We did do that. We also added more brick to the elevation for both of the structures, actually. So the building materials, again, are brick and ephes or stucco. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, does that conclude you guys' presentation, or you had more?
Actually, we don't have anything more than what the slides we've already seen.
No, but I was going to take a moment to also give a quick explanation of the project.
Sure, thank you.
Good morning, respectfully. My name is Josh Kashani. I work at a 501 Wilshire Boulevard, Beverly Hills. I work directly with the principal owner, Joseph Kashani, who's the developer and the owner of the Midtown Plaza project being heard at this public hearing. I'm going to share my screen here, if that's okay. Okay, I hope everyone could see my screen now.
Yeah.
To begin, I would like to extend my appreciation for the opportunity given to me to present our project. I would like to also thank the Valentine neighborhood community for their passion and dedication to the community. I'll begin by summarizing the original design, which was approved in 2015, then touch on the discussions we had with the community and how we incorporated their feedback related to this project. And lastly, highlight on the changes to the design and the reasoning behind the decisions which were made through collective efforts of the developer, the architect's professional opinion, and third-party consultants. This being said, the overall goal was to enhance the project and make it more meaningful, practical, achievable, and ultimately feasible. The original 2015 Midtown Plaza master plan consisted of two separate and distinct phases: a 5-story multifamily apartment building, which consisted of only 2 and 3 bedroom units, and 20 townhomes that were all 3 bedrooms and 3 stories tall on Pennsylvania. We found ourselves facing several obstacles with the original plan, which required us to redesign and rethink the project. And without doing so, this project would not be viable. As we worked towards redesigning our plans, we met with the Valentine community on 3 different occasions. And to the best of our ability, we incorporated the following to our project due to their feedback and input. There will be no garages facing the houses on Pennsylvania. There will be adequate parking for the tenants and their guests, and there would be no need for off-street parking. All units on Pennsylvania have been designed with friendly front porches and upper decks to satisfy the neighbors. We designed the units to be accessible from Pennsylvania and from the main parking lot. As requested by the Valentine neighborhood community, the new design does not look like the backside of a building and is very welcoming. The exterior material will be brick, stucco, and horizontal wood siding in order to match the existing neighborhood aesthetics. The new design fits within the context of the neighborhood's architectural style, all while making the neighbor more aesthetically pleasing and further enhancing property values of the existing homes. Previously, we had 2 curb cuts on Pennsylvania, which were eliminated due to the request of the community, and the new design has entrances to the parking from 34th Street and 34th Terrace. Every unit will have a reserved parking space and access to all amenities. And overall, there will be 217 parking spaces, which exceed the parking requirements by the city. As previously mentioned, and due to the changes in the market, we decided that we had to redesign the original plan. I will elaborate on this below. Our ultimate goal was to redesign the project in order to tie the master plan together cohesively in one phase. Rather than having the construction be phased out in 2 parts, phases 3 and 4, we designed the project to be built simultaneously, cutting the construction time in half. The new design only has 28 more bedrooms than the original plan. Having 3-story townhomes on Pennsylvania was not desirable, and there is far more demand for apartments than townhomes. Our original plan did not have any studios or 1-bedrooms, and we have learned that a successful project needs both studios and 1-bedrooms. Lenders also do not want to finance deals that do not have or incorporate studios and 1-bedrooms. We increased our parking count from 162 to 217 spaces, which resulted in a better bedroom to parking space ratio. The new design is more suitable and well received The updated design meets market demand and desire. The new development will also have approximately 14,000 square feet of group workspace, 24,000 square feet of amenities such as patio area, swimming pool, outdoor barbecue, landscaping, trees, sitting area, fire pit, clubhouse, and fitness room, which our previous design in 2015 was quite limited. The new design will also improve the overall community due to the following reasons. There will be more available units for rent for neighboring schools and businesses. Small businesses will improve due to the added density. Ultimately, density helps bring a community together. There will be added opportunity for the immediate area to have better amenities such as new coffee shops, restaurants, and expansion of businesses, which will further revive the Midtown market. As Butch previously stated, we had a phase 2 retail component, which was not viable at the time because the demand was not there, the density was not there, and none of the retail would survive. So we had to hold off on that until we further increased our density. New projects help keep a market competitive and affordable. The project is surrounded by public transportation and is adjacent to the upcoming streetcar, which helps with the walk score. And the current walk score is 82, indicating that this is a very walkable community. And finally, statistics show that there's a lack of apartment units. Demand for apartments is at an all-time high, and the number of renters have reached unprecedented levels. The Midtown market will greatly benefit from this project and improve the dire need of available units for rent. Thank you for allowing me to present. I hope that together with the support of the City Planning Commission, we can continue revitalizing the Midtown market.
Thank you. And I thank you for your presentation as well to get a better understanding of the changes you're making and why. So I really appreciate that. Is there any questions from the commission to the applicant regarding this project?
I just wanted to go back to a comment you made about town homes not being as viable as apartments. Can you elaborate on that? Hopefully I interpreted that correctly.
Sure. It's a combination of a few things. One, we found that the townhome styles that were originally designed, where it was 3 stories, where you got your parking structure on the first floor, then you have to walk up to the second and third floor, is not something that people love per se. It's people like having kind of more of an open space and not having to go level by level. The townhomes would also, it just wouldn't be feasible economically, both on a for sale side or a for rent side. The demand in the market really was pointing towards apartments in general. And so this basically helped tie the project together. And so weighing all these factors in together, we decided that townhomes just really wouldn't be feasible. I mean, we could have waited, another 4 or 5 years and just done, phase it out like it originally was intended and see if the market picked up and, there was some more demand, but we figured really what would be best is to build it together and cohesively.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commission regarding this project? Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket items 4.1 or 4.2, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, we've had Carrie Brown has had their hand raised for some time, and we have requested that they accept a promotion. So if they're listening and they want to speak, please accept the promotion. We also have Mary Jo Draper, Audrey Navarro, and Aaron Clemens.
Okay.
Gary Brown has been connected.
Okay, let's start with Carrie.
So is Audrey Navarro.
Hi, can I start?
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Carrie Brown. I'm the 4th generation owner of Brown's Irish Market over at 3300 Pennsylvania, which is adjacent to the proposed project. Our family's been on that corner for 135 years and happy to support the neighborhood in Kansas City. I want to welcome, first of all, the new neighbor. We love to have people coming into our neighborhood, and the development and the changes they've made are lovely. I would like to consider postponing and reviewing more carefully just 2 issues. I know the parking exceeds what's required, but I'd like to have thorough parking density study done because parking is such an issue there. Like yesterday, we had somebody come by when we were closed and they couldn't find a spot to park for like a half hour. Nothing was open, nothing else, and there already is a lack of parking. So I'd like that to just be addressed and looked at more carefully. And I'd also like a traffic study done because right now it's unbelievable traffic on Pennsylvania and 34th Street. And it's hard to get out from 34th. You can take a right, but it's nearly impossible to take a left. So just a traffic study, which I know is something we've looked at for a long time in that. So if we could just pause it until those 2 things are done, and we have a better understanding of traffic and parking.
Okay, thank you. Audrey, available?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to share that I own many properties in this corridor, particularly commercial buildings that are walking distance from the property. And I just wanted to support the applicant in adding density to the area. We really struggle to find small businesses to occupy some of our commercial buildings, and this density helps us with that. It particularly helps with restaurants, attracting restaurants in the area, which we'd love to see. And then I did note that the parking ratio is better. I know that there's a lot of parking concerns as this area grows, but I was glad to see that they have more parking than what's required by the city, and that this particular plan and the changes they've made incorporates more parking per bedroom. So I just wanted to support them in those fronts. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Aaron Clemens.
Yeah, hello. I'm here in support of the project as well. Similar to Audrey, I own property along the Broadway corridor, and I believe the overall density adds to the success of the businesses along the Broadway corridor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Joe, did you say there's somebody else?
There was,
Joe.
yeah, thank you. And now Leah Fitzgerald has raised their hand as well.
Okay.
Mary Jo is connected. You can
Okay.
unmute yourself and begin public testimony. Leah has also been connected.
All right, I don't see Mary Jo. So Leah, go ahead.
Yes, hello, Leah Fitzgerald, 4520 Main. I'm also a member of Midtown KC Now, and which has an overlay district that encompasses this area. We have reviewed this, and my understanding, while I'm not here to speak formally on behalf of the board, my understanding is that it does comply with the overlay, and I'm also in support of this project. I'm thrilled to see a developer coming in and building housing that is very reasonably priced, which we desperately need in this part of the city. And I was also pleased to see the parking exceeds the requirement. I completely understand that a parking study is being requested, but I'm just curious what the result of that parking study would be, given that he is exceeding what current code is. I just want to extend my support for the project.
Okay, thank you. And the question you raised is one I have as well. Thank you. Is Mary Jo available? Okay, I don't see anybody. Is there anybody else, Joe?
No, it's just Mary Jo, and it says she's a call-in listener.
Okay, there she is.
I don't know.
Here I am.
Hi, Mary Jo.
Hi, it's me again. Mary Jo Draper, 3625 Pennsylvania, for the Valentine Neighborhood Association. as has been noted, the neighborhood has had several opportunities for input on this project going back to 2015 when we first started meeting with the developer. And we want to thank the developer for the input that they've allowed us to have and some of the design changes that they've made in the project. We continue to have a couple of concerns about this project that we've had since the beginning. One of them is, although we preferred the original density of this project, which we felt like was more in keeping with the Midtown Plaza area plan, which the Valentine neighborhood was very involved in developing the area plan. And we like to see the city follow the plans that have already been developed. So like I said, we preferred the original density. One of the things that we especially liked about this project in the beginning was the opportunity to have some owner occupied units rather than rental units in the neighborhood. We were sorry to see that kind of go away from this plan. I would also note that when there are concerns about traffic and parking, there's been a lot of development pressure in this part of the neighborhood, particularly since 2015 when this plan was originally proposed. We've seen the opening of the Norman School as rental apartments. We've seen the opening of the former Valentine Shopping Center as apartments. And so we're seeing a lot more traffic on very narrow streets that were built on the original streetcar lines. So were never intended for a whole lot of traffic to be going back and forth on those streets. So we, at the very beginning of this project, asked for a traffic study and continue to think that it would be useful. And the final thing that I wanted to say is, and this somewhat relates back to the previous issue of the Broadway church that we discussed. We had been notified as a neighborhood, like I said, back in 2015 about this project. We feel like we've had an opportunity to have a lot of input. We've had several public meetings. We've had several meetings where we allowed the stakeholders in the Valentine neighborhood that are part of the neighborhood association to be involved. But a lot of the nearby neighbors, institutional neighbors like Penn Valley, the VFW, Browns, which is a really important business in our neighborhood, weren't really aware of this project until December 31st of this year when they were invited to a public meeting. And so we think it's really important. And I kind of feel like as the communications person for my neighborhood that we should have done a better job of getting the word out to the businesses. But we really feel like there was a lot of concern expressed at that January 31st meeting from people that hadn't felt like they'd had any opportunity to have input in this project. So we just kind of think that they ought to have an opportunity to be heard. And that's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. I did have a question for you, Mary Jo, and that's the traffic study. Is that the traffic study you guys requested for the for the whole entire area, or just this project as a single?
Well, ideally for the whole area, because we feel like there's a lot of development pressure going on in this part of Valentine, and going back to the Midtown Plaza area plan. When that was being developed, we requested a traffic study for this part of the area. If that's not going to happen, then we would request it for this project.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that because I remember back when the original project was being reviewed, and I know there was a lot of discussion about traffic as a whole in the whole area. And so I'm kind of curious if that's something the city's been looking at or going to look at some point. So we'll ask that question here in a couple minutes. Thank you. Anybody else, Joe, with public testimony?
Chairman. Go ahead, Matt.
I will say I did receive a letter of support this morning from Kevin Kleikenberg, the Executive Director of Midtown KC Now. He just said he was in general support of their efforts, and he appreciates them talking and interacting with the neighborhood.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, there's no one else that I see raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. And kind of come back to the applicant, but also I'm kind of curious with city staff regarding traffic and study of traffic in this whole corridor, this whole area. I know that's been a need for quite a long time. Is that still on the agenda or something to look at?
Hey, good morning, Chairman Crowell. This is Jeff Ryan with Public Works, and specific to this case first with this project, given the size of the number of units for this project, as well as the existing buildings that are in place, a traffic study was not required specifically for this project. Regarding the overall area, I'll be honest, I'm not aware of a specific study planned for this general area. Not to say that one won't be done, but I'm just not aware of one at the current time.
Yeah, I think it's something that from the area needs to have something like that done, because there has been a lot of work done in this area, and there's anticipated to be even more down the road. So it might be something to get on the radar from your standpoint, but I would imagine even from the council standpoint, they need to put something like this on their radar as well, to have the whole thing reviewed at some point.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. We'll make note of that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So again, there's not a requirement to have a traffic study done on the actual project itself.
Correct. Yeah, there was not a requirement for it.
Okay.
I had a question about the traffic study. What results from those studies? Because typically I think of them as being something where you end up widening a road or changing a signal or doing something. Does that also connect back to KCATA in terms of upping the transit lines or anything like that? Because that is also a viable solution, is that you increase your public transportation to those areas as opposed to trying to work through the existing road infrastructure.
It can, typically those would be separate topics. The traffic study can, how should I say it, discuss what other public transportation is available, and then that's typically more of along the lines of reducing actually vehicle trips is typically where that comes into play more often than as far as improving public infrastructure, we'll say. But so yeah, I guess I'd probably just leave it at that.
I would just encourage us to try to do those things in more collaboration with the transit, because as was mentioned earlier, the reason these roads can't handle that traffic is because they were based around transit. So I think we need to think about how we can better get public transit in these areas to work more effectively.
Okay, any other questions that commissioners have regarding the traffic piece? Okay, so we need to go back to the applicant themselves and any of the comments that were brought up from the public. It sounded like traffic is one. And again, looking at the density, heard a little bit about that, but if you don't mind speaking about that again.
Sure.
Those are the big things I had.
Just to recap, the 3 bedrooms are not as financeable. That's a big hurdle that we ran into. We learned that on our first phase, and no bank wanted to consider our deal because it's hard to lease those 3-bedroom units. Typically, if you are a family and you are in a 3-bedroom, you prefer more of a residential home, and so that was one major hurdle we faced on phase 1. As was previously noted, our current parking situation is improved with this revised plan and it exceeds the city requirement. I think that, you know, a traffic study, although it may, you know, provide additional information, it won't change what the requirements are currently for the city. And so we're surpassing what the city has requested of us. We have reached out to several of the neighbors on a one-on-one, discussed with them, you know, regarding several matters. You know, for example, we have several students right now living at our project. Our project, phase 1, which is 107 units, hit the market late January of 2022. And we are already at about 40% or 45% leased. We're actually very surprised how quickly these units have been being leased, just because there's such demand and there's a need. Density in general in the Midtown market, I think if you look at it historically, it has dropped significantly. I think at one time there was about 100,000 or 75 to 100,000 people living in the Midtown market. Now it's sub 40,000. And so ultimately, I think the goal of every community is to continue density and to keep it. You know, I know at a certain point it starts to become problematic, but you know, I don't think we're nearing that yet. I think that the Midtown market generally needs more density. And you know, the streetcar, which is coming, is going to be a huge help to the project and to the immediate area. I'm currently seeing residents using the public transportation that's existing in the area, and you know, being close to Westport and within 1 or 2 miles to downtown. You know, not every single tenant or community member will have a vehicle. And again, one major thing to add is that the bedroom count is just, there's, I think, total of 28 more bedrooms than there previously was. So although the unit count has gone up, the total bedroom count has gone down. And in fact, if some reports show that per unit, sometimes there's 2 people rather than 1. So if you consider 2 people per unit, that's a whole nother, you know, that this revised plan is, it will help with general density as well.
Okay, thank you. So with that, any last comments from the commission before we close all testimony?
I'll just say I'm in support. I think that they've actually done a very good job of addressing concerns. I'm actually surprised at how many good developers are in this corridor currently with some of the other projects we've had. In the parking, they've addressed it. They're above requirements. And as Jeff said, they weren't required to do a public traffic study. So in keeping with what I supported in the past one, I'm not going to ask for additional requirements that aren't required by the city. So I'll be in support of it. I liked what they did with the other project. It looks beautiful. So.
Thank you.
I actually had a follow-up question. I wondered if the staff or maybe the applicant knows what the plans were for the properties to the west of them. Kansas City Life owns a ton of those lots. I just wondered if anybody had a sense of what that might be going forward.
We've not been consulted about any plans for any of those properties.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, can I clarify what I have heard for this project regarding parking? I know it's been said that they have more than ample, but what has been included in figuring that? Is that space for visitors that come for the townhomes as well as visitors for the apartments? How does that kind of figure into this number?
It do based on the number of units of this actual project itself. So they have a calculation that should be performed based on the number of units.
Yeah, there's Commissioner Beasley, there are in this amendment 202 units proposed and 217 parking spaces being provided.
Okay, so they've given a little cushion for parking then. That's kind of what I was hoping to see. So with the first phase, he just said it was 170. This phase will be 202. And how many townhomes across Pennsylvania? Was it 5 or 6?
Well, townhomes are in the current approved plan. It's apartments that are proposed in the proposal before you today. And you're asking how many apartments are in the building facing Pennsylvania? Or
Well,
in
the
total?
thing they showed us, they also showed that they had townhomes facing Pennsylvania, and the new apartment was a buffer between the one that's on Broadway and this one we're looking at now. Did I not follow that right?
Yeah, so the plan approved in 2015 approved townhouses facing Pennsylvania as a transition between the smaller building types on the west side of Pennsylvania and the larger apartment block east of Pennsylvania. So it lied in between. They're just changing that building type from a 3-story townhouse product to a 3-story apartment product. So the scale of the building is very similar to what was approved. It's just going from townhouses to apartments.
Okay, I thought we were keeping both.
No.
So the townhomes are gone, it's strictly apartments.
Correct.
And it would have been how many townhomes that now is converted to 202 apartments?
Matt, do you have those numbers available?
Well, I was just trying to look at this, the drawing, the rendering they gave us to see how many townhomes was originally on that.
I do not have the numbers for townhomes. They are increasing the total amount of units by almost 70. Looks like 68, but I don't know if the developer can speak on that.
Originally, we had 20 townhome units in the adjoining buildings. Now we have 30, and that was facing Pennsylvania. Now we have 38 units facing Pennsylvania. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
It does, because I was thinking they were a combination of both.
No, they're not. Just, it's all apartments now, 38 units, all of them 2-bedroom facing Pennsylvania.
So that is why we had the discussion of people not really wanting the 3-story townhomes with the garage on the bottom and then 2 additional flights for people to climb. That's where that discussion came in as to why we left townhomes to apartments.
Correct.
One of the reasons, yes.
Okay, so I missed that connection. I was thinking we still had the townhomes in addition to apartments. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that for me. And I am in support of the project. I just was trying to clarify what I was looking at. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet. So at this time, let's go ahead and close all public testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to state, then I'll take a motion, please.
I move to approve docket items 4.1 without conditions and 4.2 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item 4.1 without conditions and 4.2 with conditions. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Can I ask one quick question? They have no issues with conditions? The applicant has no question or issues with the conditions that we've given them?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas. Commissioner Rojas, are you there?
Aye.
Gotcha. And Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes for approval of 4.1 and 4.2. We appreciate you bringing it in and making these changes and positive changes, I believe. And good luck as you move forward. I do want to again note that a message for the council or somebody that there needs to be some kind of traffic study or some kind of study done in this area. So I'm just putting it forward as a recommendation of that being looked into and being done for this area as a whole. Okay. With that, let's move to where we at, docket item. So we've got 3 cases left. Is everybody okay to go ahead and try to finish these out, or do you want to take a little break first and fill up your water and go to the restroom?
Quick break, please.
A quick break? Okay. All right, it's basically 11:10 right now, so let's take a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back and finish docket items 8, 11, and 12 when we get done. And then we'll go from there. Thank you. So we'll see you back at 11:25.
Hey, James, I'm not sure if you've listened or heard, well, let's see, how do I say this? I'm not sure if you know more about the comprehensive plan other than the presentation we had seen, but I was recently in Austin and I was wondering what the like academic perspective or our city's perspective or community's perspectives are on AB units when people take, one parcel and then often tear down the house and then put up 2 units on the same parcel.
What the academic perspective is from that?
Like, I mean, in my mind, it's like, oh, it's great. It increases density if someone doesn't mind foregoing a yard. And as so long as like the neighborhood doesn't feel as though it ruins the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And so basically, I'm wondering if there's already people in Kansas City or if the staff have already identified areas in long range planning where it's like, here's an area that it makes sense to do it. Here's an area where we wouldn't want to do it. Or if it's just viewed as like, if there are problems with it that I haven't really thought about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, let's talk about that offline, I think.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and get the meeting restarted again. Is everybody back? Commissioner Rojas?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Turn on your camera by chance? Okay, Commissioner Sadowski, you back?
I'm here.
All right, so Commissioner
Here.
Beach is back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead with docket item number 8 then. Joe, so if you can read that, please.
All right, docket item 8 is case number CPC 2022-00017. This is a request to approve the 88th and North Oak Apartments, which is a development plan to allow for 2 multifamily residential buildings at totaling 56 units on about 2 acres at the southwest corner of 88th and North Oak Trafficway. Genevieve Kahn is the staff planner.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hey. All right. Okay. As Joe said, I'll be presenting on the proposed development plan for the 88th and North Oak Apartments. Site is generally located in the Northland, just north of Berry Road. The subject site is 2 parcels that will be combined, located at the southwest corner of Northeast 88th Street and North Oak Trafficway, and the property is zoned R-1.5. The site may look a little familiar to you, as you also recently recommended approval to the council for rezoning of this property to the south to allow for a coffee shop, and then additionally another rezoning to property a little further south for the a massage business. So there are a variety of zoning districts in this area. Just along this section of North Oak, as you can see, there's residential, office, and also commercial. Here's a street view of the subject site. It is currently vacant. And this is the site plan for the project. The applicant is proposing 2 multi-unit buildings to contain a total of 56 units. They are also requesting a deviation from that the council will grant to the lot and building standards in an R1.5 district to accommodate their proposed density. The deviation request is for 365 square feet to allow for these 56 units. If they were compliant with the standards, they would probably only be able to do, if I had to guess, like 54 units. It's pretty close. And then parking will be located in the rear of the building, abutting the residences to the west. The parking area will be accessible from Northeast 88th Street and North Oak also. The egress on North Oak to the south here will be a right out only, indicated on the plans. And then here's their landscape plan. The applicant is proposing to screen the parking area from the residences to the west with both decorative fencing seen here and shrubs. Street trees will be planted along North Oak, and interior landscaping will also help soften the facade and kind of break up these longer buildings, as well as screening mechanical equipment and providing shade for the pedestrian walkways they're proposing. And then here are the elevations provided to city staff. The developer is proposing lap siding, board and batten, and stone veneer, all in gray and sort of earth tone colors. On the front of the building, which is this facade, there will be one central entrance, and then in the rear of the building where the parking is, there will be 2 entrances. And then here's just another rendering of what it will look like from Oak. I believe this rendering, and then this is just a different angle that you would see from the parking lot. And staff recommends approval subject to the conditions in the staff report, and I can take any questions. I believe Patricia Jensen is on as the applicant and can also answer questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission to city staff? All right, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name is Patricia Jensen with the Rouse Fretz Law Firm, as you know, here today on behalf of the applicant. I think members of our team are on also. If you have questions, Brian Mertz being the applicant and Tim Baldridge being the architect and Perla DeSoto being the engineer. But as Genevieve has stated, we're asking you to approve this plan for 56 units. It requires a deviation of 365 square feet because we have enough lot area for 55 units, and we have lot area in the R1.5 district that we're located in. It requires 1,500 square feet of lot area. The 56 unit has 1,135 square feet. So that's why we've asked for the 365-foot deviation. We are in agreement with all of the conditions contained in the staff report, and we're available to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission to the applicant? All right, so at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 8, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one's raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony. Anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Jensen?
No, I don't think I have anything else to add unless you have questions.
Okay. All right, so if there's nothing to discuss or any comments from the commission, I'll take a motion, please.
I move to approve docket item number 8 with conditions.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 8 with conditions stated. Lisa, can you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, looks like the motion passes for approval of docket item number 8. Thank you for bringing it in.
Thank you.
Good luck as you move forward.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move then to docket item number 11.
Docket item 11 is case CPC 2022-00045. This is a request to approve a rezoning of property at on the west side of North Corrington Avenue, approximately 1,400 feet north of East Front Street from District M3-5 to District M2-5. Matt Barnes is the staff planner.
Morning. I will hopefully not have as many technical difficulties this time. I'll try to share my screen as I've restarted my computer. Okay. So today we have case number CDCPC 2022-00045, which is rezoning at 1600 North Corrington from M3-5 to M2-5. The site is located in the Riverfront Industrial area, just on the east side of 435 Highway. Here's a zoomed in portion. You can see it right there along North Corrington Avenue. The building there is highlighted in yellow. You can see it's in similar, it's in a larger complex of office buildings there, creating two U shapes. It is located currently in an M3-5, as you can see surrounding it. The property adjacent to the south is zoned both M1-5 and M3-5. You can see the red line going through there. The area plan recommends office for the area and supports the lower intensity. Here's a view from the outside of the building. As you can see, it's more of an office type building rather than heavy industrial. The applicant is seeking approval of this rezoning in order to allow for a medical office that specializes in the care for truck drivers. Office/medical is not permitted within the M3 zoning district. The applicant was granted approval for an interior remodel of the site due to a lack of continuity between our zoning code and the International Building Code. They did not trigger a change in use when went from office to office medical. The applicant completed the remodel and was notified that it was not permitted in the zoning once they applied for business license. The M2 zoning district will allow for the current uses on site as well as the medical office use. Staff recommends approval of docket number 11, case number CD CPC 2022-00045.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to city staff regarding docket item 11? Mr. Barnes, do you mind stop sharing? I think you're excited about that. You got it this time.
Yes.
Okay, so seeing no questions, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant to this case.
Mr. Chair, the applicant has been emailing me saying that they were unable to get in. I provided them another link. This was just moments ago, and I haven't seen them join yet.
Okay.
We do have someone calling in from a phone number, and I asked her if that was her, but I haven't gotten a reply.
Okay.
I guess I would ask Lisa to maybe go ahead and promote that phone number so that they can identify whether it's Kathy Warman who's the applicant.
And she came in, she received a letter saying that it was in person on the 26th floor. So she was in the office earlier this morning. So she was going to go back and try to hop on.
Yeah.
Joe, the phone number has been given permissions to talk.
I'm on the line. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, this is Colby, the chair of the City Planning Commission. Do you mind stating your name and address for the record, please?
Certainly. Kathleen Warman, Warman Architects, 1735 Swift, North Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we just went through the staff report and are now starting on the applicant to talk about the project. So if there's anything you'd like to add regarding this case?
I don't think so. I think Matthew described the situation, and we appreciate staff's help on this. They've been very, very helpful in expediting moving this forward, and we are certainly in agreement with their recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? Okay, so at this time, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. So if there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 11, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one's raising their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything to add, Ms. Warman? Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and take a motion or from the commission, please.
Move to approve docket item number 11.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 11. Lisa, can you take roll call, please, on that motion?
Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion is approved for docket item number 11. Thank you for calling in, and we'll see you next meeting or next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to docket item number 12, please.
All right, the last docket item is number 12, case number SUP 2022-00003. Request to approve a special use permit to allow for a neighborhood serving retail use on about 0.07 acres located at 1127 West 41st Street. The planner is Jared Clemens.
Good morning, everybody. Give me 1 second to share my screen. All right. Can you all see that? Great. Okay, so before us, we have docket item number 12. This is CD SUP 2022-0003. It's located at 1127 West 41st Street, zoning district R-5. The applicant is seeking approval of a special use permit for neighborhood serving retail to allow for a salon to open at the subject site. They have met their public engagement meeting requirements. So the site is located here in relation to the rest of the city. It's within the boundaries of the Midtown Plaza area plan. More specifically, the subject site is on West 41st Street between Hawley and Roanoke Road, just south of the Loretto there on 39th Street, just for a landmark. Some key points of this proposal: it is a 440 square foot salon in an existing commercial space. So it does meet the approval criteria for neighborhood serving retail. Staff has only received a letter of support for this request. That'll be on the next slide. There are two conditions with this special use permit. The first is that the applicant must renew the special use permit every 3 years. And the second is that they must seek approval of an alternative compliance parking plan. They have a 0 lot line commercial structure, so there's no place for off-street parking, requires 1 space. I did neglect to include that in my staff report, so that'll need to be part of the motion that the commission makes. This is the letter of support from the neighborhood association. The Volker Neighborhood Association. I'll give you guys a moment to read that. All right, hopefully that was enough time. I'll move on to the special use permit approval criteria. Other than the parking that I mentioned earlier, which is conditioned that they'll meet after BZA approval, staff believes that they meet all applicable review criteria for the special use permit. So with that, I recommend approval with conditions. And with that, I will conclude my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a reason for the 3-year renewal?
3 years, the standard condition for new uses that I generally go with, just to establish the use and see if any issues arise with the neighborhood. I do know that the applicant wishes for that to be bumped up to 5 years. So I'll leave that up to the board. I would not be against bumping that up.
Okay, and what can you remind me again of what you need to modify as part of a motion?
Oh, sure. Just adding the condition that they will go through the alternative compliance parking plan process after BZA approval.
Okay, what does that consist of?
Submitting to our office a plan that showing where they intend for customers to park and any agreement they have with whoever owns that parking lot within 1,000 feet of the subject site is generally the one that most people go with. There's a number of options available in section 88420 of the Zoning and Development Code.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant.
I believe the applicant might be Angela Daniela Rogers. Is that right, Jared? Lisa, please promote her.
And it does appear that you're muted, Ms. Rogers.
Hi. As you take yourself off mute, do you mind stating your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Angela Daniela Rogers, and I live at 1000 West 93rd Street, Kansas City, Missouri, 64114.
Okay. Just tell us a little bit about the project and why you want the special use permit.
I'm proud to introduce myself as a Latina small business owner in Kansas City. I've been a hairstylist in Kansas City since 2012, and I've been working in the West Plaza area since 2014. Recently, I've teamed up with local artist and musician, Mikal Shapiro. She owns the building for the proposed relocation of my existing business. And so I'm wanting to operate out of her storefront. It's already a commercial structure, and it's partially in use as an artist studio. And after holding our neighborhood engagement meeting, we received some really good feedback. I'd like to emphasize I am a tiny salon operating with just one client at a time. A busy day sees about 4 clients. I'd also like to call attention to my commitment as a hairstylist. I use ammonia-free products, and I support beauty companies that also have a dedication and mindfulness to their green footprint. So I'd really appreciate the support we've seen so far, and I thank you guys for taking the time to be a part of this today.
Okay. And there's any issue with the 3-year renewal, or are you wanting a little longer than that?
Yeah, the building owner, Mikal, and I would also like to request the renewal period for the special use permit be 5 years instead of the proposed 3 years.
Okay. All right. Anything from the commission on that?
I support that.
Thanks.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay.
Is there any issue with the parking?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so currently right now it's just an artist studio. Mikal Shapiro works out of one portion of the building. And so she's there every day and has no problem with parking. She's been the building owner since 2019, and she's kept an eye on parking and doesn't think it'll be a problem. And since I just operate with one client at a time, and a lot of my people work at KU Med, so a lot of people walk or ride their bike to me as is. I'm currently working at 40 Westport Road in Wyoming. So I don't see parking as an issue, and the building owner doesn't either.
Okay.
And, oh, sorry. I just wanted to add, at the neighborhood engagement, there was people who asked about that, but at the end of our meeting, people were really positive and agreed they didn't see it being a problem.
Okay. Yeah, city staff is asking us to add to the conditions that you go through an alternative parking compliance application. Yes. Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to add at this time? No. Okay.
No, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? Okay. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public comment. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak regarding docket item number 12, please raise your hand and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair,
No one is raised.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add before we speak amongst the commission? Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and close all public testimony and speak amongst the commission. Regarding the case, it sounds like everybody's in favor of going from a 3 to 5 year. So I'll go ahead and take a motion, please.
I move to approve docket item number 12, amending the special use renewal period from 3 to 5 years and adding that the applicant will complete the alternate compliance parking plan process with staff.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second with changes to conditions as stated. Lisa, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Commissioner Allender,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Beasley,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
and Sadowski.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 7 to none. So I guess your next step is to actually go through the Board of Zoning adjustment. Is that right, Jared?
That's correct.
And he'll notify you when that will be. Okay, thank you very much and good luck as you move forward.
Thank you.
All right, anything else anybody has for the commission? Joe, anything you need to talk through?
No, I don't have anything else. It sounds like someone else might, but I don't.
Okay. All right, then, so I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Motion made.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. See you in a couple weeks.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
See you.